I'm on. Hey, family. If this content is blessing you, teaching you, or opening your eyes to a new way of healing and living, do me a small favor that makes a big difference. Hit that subscribe button. I mean, when you subscribe, you're not just following a channel, you're helping this message reach the people who need to hear it the most. You're helping us spread the word about indigenous herbal knowledge, cellular hydration, natural healing education, and most importantly, community empowerment. So before you leave this video, subscribe, join the movement, grow with us. I mean, it's just like one click for you, but it's a world of impact for others. And thank you for being a part of the ICM Wellness family. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the ICM Wellness podcast. Really glad to have you, and I'm also glad to be here. I hope that the information that we're sharing is helping you, is growing your knowledge, and it's helping you to become much more knowledgeable in your knowledge of herbs. I'm excited because when I do this broadcast, it really gives me an opportunity to get the word out there. I want to just thank all those persons who have subscribed and who are helping to share our content and getting the knowledge out there. It's really important that you help. It's a really great opportunity to be able to come on week after week and to share it with you. And each week that I come, I try my utmost best not to sound too complex, but to sound very simple, and to do things in a way that a lot of persons can relate to. My goal is to get those persons who are not really scientific based to understand medicine, to understand healing, and not to see it as something that they shouldn't be a part of. But at the same time, to share content and information that can appeal to those persons who are scientifically driven, who are empirically based, who like empirical evidence. And the goal is really to help people to appreciate the ancestral wisdom of our ancestors, because one of the ways that modern science has been able to cause us to develop mistrust for our ancestors was to get us to see them as not being very scientific, not being very sound, and so we allowed a lot of that wisdom to pass. So I'm continuing this series. I'm looking at cellular voltage, hydration, and the roots of disease. In last week's presentation, we looked at the whole concept of why cells lose their ability to heal, and we talked about the fact that healing is an involuntary process, it's an involuntary natural process that takes place without our permission, whether we like it or not. We spoke about why pills don't restore cellular voltage, and we introduced the whole concept of terrain versus treatment. In today's presentation, I want to talk about what I call the cell and electrical battery. And I want to talk about that, and let me tell you why I want to talk about that. Because, a lot of people, and especially natural care practitioners, and I want to, maybe this episode is geared more so for you guys who are in the natural medicine space. I remember I used to make a lot of medicine, and we still do make a lot of medicine. And one of the problems that I had, and I couldn't understand, Why? We have some formulations that we have proven over and over again to be very effective. And there are cases where persons would share with other persons, hey, if you're having a particular issue, check Dr. Ben, and Dr. Ben will give this to you. And, we'll give it to persons, and persons are excited, and they will take it, and then boom, there's no result. Just the question, it's the same ingredients, same quality herbs, same procedure, because in our what we call apothecary, all the products that we make have a certificate. So we create a certificate for every product that we make, and that certificate includes the batch of that particular product. It includes the list and the amounts of all the ingredients that goes in. We have the expected yield, how much we intend to get from a particular batch of product that we make. And then we have the actual yield, which is how much we actually got from the product. The herbs, we try to, as much as it's possible, we try to source our herbs ourselves, or we have persons who source the herbs from us. And so we identify those herbs, so we know exactly which herb is being used in a formulation, so that we can possibly, if we need to, we can track and trace, we do all that. So we're very comfortable as it relates to the quality of the product. We harvest our herbs in relation to the phases of the moon. So we know that we try to, obey all these natural principles that are supposed to give us good, great quality products. And so we have persons who take it, and the results is less than desirable, if I should put it that way. And I always ask myself the question, why was that the experience? And I know some of you, or as I said, who are in natural medicine may have that experience where you've given persons products, or some of you make your own products and you take it and you don't get the results. Some of you make products from the recommendation of other persons and you don't get the results, and you're wondering why. Some get it, some don't get it. But here's one of the possible reasons why this is so. So you may have obeyed all the different laws as it relates to formulating the product, as it relates to getting the product, as it relates to putting the product together. You obeyed all those principles. But here's a challenge. The person who was taking the product, was not able to absorb the product the way they were supposed to absorb it, because of their cells being calcified, or their cells not being absorbent enough. And so that is the angle that I want to take today's presentation from. I want to talk about the importance of the cells. We're going to talk about the cell membrane, which is very important, because the cell membrane typically function is like a miniature version of ourselves. When you think about the cells, pretty much all that we're able to do to breathe, to respire, to produce waste, to excrete waste, on a cellular level, we're able to do all of that. And so when on a cellular level, we're not able to carry out these functions, then on a macro level, on a larger, grander scale, it begins to affect us. And so when we begin to look at our health, we've got to look at our health on a cellular basis. And last week, I started looking at the cell, and I started looking on the healthy cell. And we spoke about the healthy cell. And I want to move on to the disease cell. I don't know if you can see my pointer. I hope you can see it. But we want to focus on the cell membrane, which is that protective wall that gives the cell its shapes and protects the cell. We're going to be looking on that today, and we're going to be talking about the cell membrane. Now, the cell is an electrical battery, so I want persons to understand that the cell is an electrical battery, and therefore your body is not primarily chemical, it is electrical. Now, I approach now medicine from a bioelectrical perspective and not a biochemical perspective. And so with a biochemical, for those of you who are just watching, a biochemical approach is one that says that because we are biochemical being, when something is wrong, that problem has to be resolved biochemically. Now, biochemically, there are persons who are in Western medicine. Western medicine is a biochemical approach. And we spoke last week about the fact that in that chemical approach, they study markers. And so they create drugs that affect and manipulate markers of disease. So when they study disease, Western medicine, the goal is not to reverse, the goal is to manage. And so because the goal is to manage, they study disease from the perspective of understanding how to manipulate, how to manage the symptoms that arise. And so in order to do that, what they do is they have drugs that alter chemical reactions, right? So that's one of the ways in which prescription products work. It manages chemical reactions, or it alters, or it affects chemical reactions. And so it affects chemical reactions in order to bring about certain desired results. And those particular desired results alter symptoms. And so that's one way in which they work. Another way in which they work is they target what we call markers. So when they study disease, they study to find the markers, certain markers or certain enzymes or certain enzymic functions. And so when they manufacture their products are geared towards targeting or affecting those targeted symptoms, or those targeted hormones, or those targeted natural chemicals in the body. And so basically this is how it works. And so because of that, persons will have results, persons will gain results, but as I said, those results will not be long-lived. So that is those that are in Western medicine. But a lot of herbalists also practice a biochemical approach. The difference is they resort to plant-based chemicals or natural-based chemicals. And that is okay, right? So we utilize that as well. But the difference is that, my approach, or, I don't believe that the basis, the philosophical basis of approach should be biochemical. It should be bioelectrical. And so the bioelectrical philosophy of the bioelectrical understanding is hinged on the fact that every biochemical process in the body, every biochemical function in the body, every biochemical action in the body is triggered by a voltage. And so therefore, it's more effective to focus on what causes biochemistry to function, what causes biochemistry to move, and that is the voltage, that is the electrical voltage in the cells. And then, as I said, it's very simple because we understand, therefore, that there are three basic ranges that the cells can be in, three possible stages that the cells can be in. And the first one we said is the healthy cell, which is in a range of negative 20 to negative 25. You may hear me saying sometimes negative 25 and negative 30 millivolts. That is the optimal healing zone. And so when the cells are in this particular healing range, they have a very strong electrical charge. They're able to efficiently take up nutrients. They are able to effectively and efficiently remove toxins from the body. They have a high cellular hydration, so they're very they have an optimal amount of the minerals necessary to carry out their normal function. They have optimal oxygen utilization, and so this is basically the first stage that the cell is in, and this is where we want to be in. Disease is health, or healing is a process. It's a natural involuntary process that the body is in. Once the body is in this range, the person has nothing to do. As I was saying to somebody, as a matter of fact, that the body is at its highest healing stage while we are sleeping, while we are unconscious, while we are completely oblivious and aware of what is happening. So this is one of the stages of healing. The next stage is what we call a disease stage, which is about negative 10 millivolts, negative 15 millivolts. And this is where there's a very low electrical charge. There's poor nutrient absorption, poor nutrient uptake. There is inflammation because there is calcification, then there is inflammation. I'm going to be talking more about that. And because the cell is inflamed and because there's calcification, then there is reduced detoxification. The cell is not able to clean itself. And so what happens is that we have a lot of what I call junk, a lot of waste, a lot of mucus. And so because of this, disease begins to progress. What I also said to the person is that the disease range or the disease stage has different stages within it. So there's a mild, the mild stage of the disease range, the mild stage of the disease range. And in this mild stage, even though voltage has dropped and the cells have lost their energy, required to repair and to heal and to have immunity and to be balanced, there is no necessary symptoms, or the symptoms are not very noticeable. And so even though a lot of persons may be in this disease range, because they're not experiencing a lot of very noticeable symptoms or very noticeable signs, then it is taken for granted. And what happens to the body is that the body, because it's not only made to heal itself, but made to protect itself, what the body does is the body, when this is ignored, what the body does is the body will escalate. So the body is going to escalate the symptoms until it gets our attention. And so then we have the mild, we have the moderate, which is again a progressive movement, because as I said, just like how healing is a process, disease is a process. Disease is not an event. Disease is a process. It takes time. Now, we're talking about sometimes 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. A person can be in a disease stage for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And because symptoms are not manifesting, then persons think that they are okay. And so you're gaining the weight, but you're able to carry out your functions. You have low energy, but it's not that low that you can't go to work. You're having mental fog, but it's not to that point where you can't function. So you say that you're okay. And then we have the chronic stage of disease. The chronic stage of disease is usually where the body now escalates, where the body becomes so diseased that the body now escalates the symptom or the discomfort to a side where it is not ignorable. You can't ignore it anymore. And the body knows that the only way to get our attention is to escalate a condition to the point where we begin to feel pain. So most persons, when they start to experience pain, when they start to feel pain, say, "Oh, I'm sick. I was okay all along, and I just suddenly got sick." All right? Now, this is, of course, there are, of course, exceptions, because, as I said, that this is normally what happens. But then the disease does happen because sometimes of trauma. Disease does happen sometimes because of poisoning. Disease just happens because of toxins, parasites. So there are exceptions to what I'm saying to you. But normally, typically, disease is a process, and it's usually a very long, progressive process where the body would be for years trying to fight. But what we do is that we continue to create the environment. We continue to create the atmosphere for the body to lose its battle in trying to fight to stay healthy or to heal itself. And so disease is a process. Disease is a stage, and that stage is where the body is at a low voltage. Voltage has dropped to about negative 10 millivolts, negative 15 millivolts, but it gets worse than that. Then it goes to even lower, where we start to develop cancer cells. And in this, if you stick with us, I'm going to be going deeper into all of these. I'm going to be explaining to you. And so when this happens, there is a near zero cellular voltage, loss of electrical control, loss of electrical ability to function, to protect itself. Fermentation-based metabolism begin to chip in. We're going to talk about that, how are cancer cells different from normal cells. And there's cellular, severe cellular dehydration. And this is anywhere from negative 5 millivolts to negative 6 millivolts. Now, why is this important? And this is very important because because the approach to healing is bioelectrical, then the person who is coming to help, all he needs to know is that we need to raise the cellular the cellular voltage up. All we need to do is to get it back up to its healing range. We don't have to take on the task of healing. We don't have to take on see healing as a task, as a labor-intensive task, because the body heals itself. So all we need to do is to get the body up to that healing range, and the body begins to heal itself. And that, of course, is going to include improving hydration, including minerals, including nutrition, and then removing acidic environments, acidic foods, acidic lifestyle practices. And once that is done, then the body just naturally heals itself. So that is what I want to get across to persons, because it's so important for persons to understand that there are so many persons who are sick, who see healing as something complex, who sees healing as something that is difficult to understand. It's not difficult to understand. It's very simple. Once the body gets the raw material that it needs, then the body goes about doing what it does very well, which is healing itself. And so every single cell in your body functions like a living battery. They are generating, storing, and using electrical energy to stay alive. Yesterday I was talking about a tree that if you cut a tree, which is plants are the closest cousins to us. If you cut a tree after about 4 hours, you cut down that tree, you separate it from the roots where it is constantly connected into the earth, where there is hydration. Once you cut that tree, the first sign of the tree is wilting. The first sign of the tree is dehydration. Right? So the first sign that a plant is dying is dehydration. The first sign of the loss of life, a reduction in life, is dehydration. As it is with the plants, so it is with animals as well. So when the battery is strong, the cells heal. When the battery weakens, the cell struggles. When the battery collapses, the disease appears. It's very simple. And so long before chemistry takes place, electricity sets the stage. Electrical charge determines your what we call your nutrient entry, the amount of entry that goes into your cell, the waste exit. It determines the oxygen uptake. It determines enzymic activity, cellular communication. All of these are determined by electricity. And so without sufficient electrical charge, chemistry becomes inefficient, metabolism slows, repair system shut down. Chemistries follow electricity, and it is not the other way around. As I said, if you look on the cell, let me just go back up to the disease cell. If you look on the cell, this is the cell membrane. Right? And in a healthy cell, look at a healthy cell. In a healthy cell, you can see that the membrane is nice and thick, and the cell has a round, hydrated shape. That's how your cells are supposed to be. The cells are supposed to be round and fully hydrated. When the cell becomes diseased, you begin to see cell wall collapse. So the cells begins to collapse because the cell wall gets thinner as water is taken out of the cells. And so that's very important for us to understand. As water is taken out of the cells, then the cell wall begins to collapse. And as the cell wall collapses and the cell wall thickens, and as the cell wall thickens, then it is difficult for the cells to begin to take in nutrients. It is difficult for the cells to take in nutrients. And so you may have good quality herbs, you may have made good quality medicine, what I call good quality raw material for the body to use, but the body is not able to efficiently use that raw material properly because it is just not strong enough to do so. And so that is very important for persons to understand. If the cell walls are not strong enough, there's sufficient electricity, then that is going to happen. The cell membrane is not just a wrapper. It is also the battery wall. It is the wall of the battery. And what the cell membrane does is that it separates positive and negative charges. Right? It maintains an electrical gradient. And so the cell wall, so there's the outer cell wall and there's the inner cell wall. And between the outer cell wall and the inner cell wall is the cell membrane. That cell membrane, as I said, is made up of proteins. It's made up of magnesium, potassium, sodium, calcium, about 4 minerals: magnesium, potassium, sodium, calcium, and which one am I leaving out? Magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium. So those 4 minerals. And these 4 minerals, there has to be a very delicate balance of these minerals within the cell wall. Usually, because our diet is a high sodium based diet, then guess what? The mineral that tends to be highest in most of us is sodium. And guess what? Sodium has a pulling effect. Sodium pulls water in and retains the water. And so a lot of times the cells pull in, but is not able to get rid of the metabolic waste. So there's a lot of metabolic waste inside the cells, and that metabolic waste sometimes now causes mucus, and it causes acidity. So now there's acidity in the cells, and the cells are not able to do what it is supposed to do. And when I talk about the cell, there are different cells of the body: cells of the lungs, cells of the kidney, cells of the bone. Every area in the body is made up of cells. And so when this takes place, then it becomes difficult for the cells to carry out its function. So for the cells to maintain an electrical gradient, there has to be that balance. And so the cell is not able to control what enters and what exits. It's not able to hold the voltage across its surface. And so, as I said, those persons who study live blood will notice that what happens is that the cells are not vibrant, they're not active, and they begin to move much slower because they don't have the energy. The mitochondria, which is in the cells, doesn't have the energy to do what it is supposed to do. And so the cells become weak, and so the cells become inefficient. And so, we a lot of times we take on the responsibility of, again, focusing our medicine on biochemistry. And I'm talking to those of us who are natural, because we believe that the foundation, the system, the medical system is always confident that we can't resolve or we can't be effective because they've led us down some wrong rabbit holes. And so think about it. As I said, ask us the question. When we were in our mother's womb, when life was being developed, because remember, every organ, every cell, and for life to be developed, all the right ingredients had to be in the womb. Every part of our body was being developed. The brain was being developed. If herb was so necessary, which herb was in the womb? And I know somebody will say, well, the fluid that's in the womb, it has the minerals in it. Of course, it has the minerals in it. That's what we're going to talk about, the role of the cell and the role that water plays and the role that minerals play. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to go into all of it. But there was no herb that was necessary for that fetus to develop. Everything that was necessary for that life to be developed was in the womb. And what was in the womb was hydration. And what was in the fluid was nutrition. So hydration and nutrition was necessary for life to be developed. And so when a person gets sick, we have to ask ourselves the question: what are these cells lacking? What do these cells need? And what we're going to find is that these cells need the same thing that they needed to be developed in the first place. And that, of course, is hydration and nutrition. Hydration and nutrition. So it's no miracle. There's no sign. There's no wonder. It's all simple, So when the membrane is damaged, when the cell membrane is damaged, through dehydration or through toxin or through inflammation, then absorption can't take place the way it is supposed to damage. As a matter of fact, voltage begins to leak. The battery weakens. The cell shifts to survival mode. A leaking battery cannot power healing. And so when you have a battery that is weak, what you need to do is you need to resolve the issue. And so it's simple. You know, when you have a car and the car battery is dead, you know, in Jamaica, all we do is that we just buy a new battery. But in certain parts of the world, in parts of India, for example, there are persons who have created a livelihood from restoring batteries. And so what they will do is that they'll drive around and they'll collect these batteries that are said to be no good, that are said to be worthless. They'll collect these batteries, they'll bring them to their shop, they'll take off the head of the battery, and what they will do is they'll take out the leads, the lead partitions. Sometimes they put in new lead partitions, because when you take out the lead partitions, what you're going to see on the partition is corrosion. So the lead cells have become corroded. And so because of a buildup of corrosion, there is a reduction in absorption. Absorption of what? Those lead cells are immersed in a solution. They are immersed in a solution. And that solution is a solution of water and minerals. And guess what? The minerals are magnesium sulfate. So what they'll do is they will get distilled water. So they take out the lead cells, they get some new lead cells and they put them in. Then they get distilled water, which is water that has no contaminants in it. All right? They get this distilled water and they add the distilled water to it. And then now they add the minerals. They'll add their Epsom salt and they add their baking soda. They add those minerals to it, sodium chloride and magnesium sulfate. So they add it to the battery, and then they have these two negative and positive electrodes, and they attach them up to voltage, and they leave them there for about 12 or so hours. And what happens is that an electrical reaction takes place that revives, renews, and invigorates those plates, and it causes that battery to become a new battery. So that battery that was worthless, that was thought to be no good, that should have been thrown out, is brought back to life because they know the power of electricity. And so that is what I want you to understand, guys. On a cellular level, we are bioelectrical. On a cellular level, you are bioelectrical. It is the reason why I said to persons, when you get sick and you go to the hospital, in order for them to administer care, if you came in and you came in very sick, for them to administer care, the first thing that they have to do is they have to stabilize you. For them to stabilize you, what they will do is they will connect it to an IV fluid. And that IV fluid is going to produce and provide a constant flow of hydration. And that constant flow of hydration is designed to increase the voltage in your cells. Once the voltage in your cells have been steadily attained, then you are now ready to be worked on. You cannot be worked on. You cannot be helped if your voltage is unstable. You cannot be helped if your voltage is weak or low. They have to stabilize you first. And so usually this is a nurse. And there's a technique that they do, which is they will put you on the IV fluid, and they will use a watch to monitor the rate of flow of liquid. And usually when you are very dehydrated, the rate of flow of liquid is very fast, very fast. It's rhythmic, but it's very fast. And the nurse will come back every now and then and they'll check you to see how you're doing. And once they realize that your voltage, because they'll check your pressure, because Muhammad, I don't know if you know that the basic regulator of pressure in the body is hydration. All right? It's hydration. Once your kidneys, and those of you who are dialysis patients would have known that some of you are on dialysis. You didn't start out on dialysis. You started out on blood pressure products. Right? You started out with blood pressure problem. And then because the blood pressure problem was not being carefully monitored, it also became a kidney problem, because the number one regulator of pressure is hydration, is water. Right? That's the number one regulator. Right? And so if that is out of whack, then you are in serious problem. So it's important for persons to understand that. And This has been like an uphill task for me, helping people to understand that 90%, I said 90 to 95% of the reasons why most people are sick. Imagine that. Most persons who are sick, the root of their disease is dehydration. Not all, but 90 to 95% of the persons. So if you went into a hospital and you went into a sick area and look around you, 90 to 95% of who you are seeing who believes that their problem is incurable, who believe that their problem is difficult, 90 to 95% of them, their problem is rooted in dehydration. And this is the reason why, as I said, I'm doing these broadcasts, because I want people to understand that your health is your responsibility, that the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. One of the biggest myths I want to dispel is the fact, because so many people confuse hydration with water consumption. So many people confuse hydration with water consumption. And if you don't believe me, try it. A lot of you who are in healthcare, whether you're in yoga, whether you're in physical fitness, whether you're in nutrition, whether you're in herbs, I want you to try this. Most of the persons who you begin to talk to about hydration, you're going to find that the response that they give you is based on an understanding that hydration is water consumption. I want to dispel that myth. Hydration is not based on water consumption. It's based on cellular absorption. It's based on how much you absorb, not how much you drink. And so because so many people drink water improperly, and because so many people are drinking the wrong type of water, there are so many people who are dehydrated, who believe that they are not dehydrated because they can attest to their water consumption. And that is the reason why we have a 4 protocol, which I'm going to talk about in this presentation. Guys, if you have not subscribed, I want you to subscribe, because a lot of what I'm sharing, YouTube is not going to promote it. So if you want to hear what we are sharing, if you want to get the full knowledge, then you need to subscribe to our channel, because this is not content that YouTube is going to promote. It's not a content that YouTube is going to suggest. So if you want to help us to get this message out there, not only subscribe, but I want you to share this video, because my goal, 90% to 95% of the persons who walk in and sit before me, when I look at the conditions sometimes, some people work out, some people, do all the things. And when I look at them and I'm saying, how can I go about helping people to understand that being healed is not as difficult as they would think? It's as simple. It's an involuntary process. It's a natural process. It's not something that the subconscious mind was given the task to try to figure out. The body was given the responsibility to heal itself. The scripture says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. The body is a very dynamic organism that changes with external stimuli, that changes with diet, that changes. And so the body is in a constant state of change. It's difficult for us to know how and what to adjust for the body to remain in its healing stage. And so that responsibility has not been given to us. It has been given to the body. Our responsibility is to ensure that the body has the right tools in order to heal itself. I can't tell you what that is. And that is the reason why I put together this book that is designed to share the body of that information with as many persons as is possible. And I want you to go ahead. I want you to go ahead now and get a copy of that book. It is called Cellular Hydration, and it's on Amazon.
Fatigue isn't a mystery. You're just severely dehydrated and don't even know it. Indigenous Caribbean medicine practitioner Dr. Ben Yisrael discovered that 90% of his clients weren't actually sick. They were thirsty. In his groundbreaking book, The Cellular Hydration Revolution, he reveals how proper hydration can eliminate inflammation, boost energy, and help you lose weight naturally. No expensive supplements needed, just water done right. Get your copy today and discover the healing power your body's been craving.
All right, so guys, I really want you to get that. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about cellular voltage hydration, and we're looking at the roots of disease. In today's presentation, we're talking about the cell as an electrical battery, and the fact that we are bioelectrical being, that healing is a natural process, and that all we need to do is to meet the right criteria. We're talking about the fact that when the battery, the cell wall of the battery is damaged, then there is dehydration, there is the loss of voltage, and this cellular membrane is damaged through dehydration, it's damaged through toxins, it's damaged through inflammation. And I said to persons that a lot of persons drink water only when they feel thirsty. Water consumption should be an event. It should be an event on your daily routine. Most persons can tell you how much gas they put in their car. They can tell you how much money is in their bank account. They can tell you how much of so many. They can tell you so many specifics, but they can't tell you how much water they consume per day. And they'll even say, water is life. They'll say water is life. And even though they say water is life, I mean, they say, but it doesn't really make sense. They don't put it into meaning. All right. And so I tell persons, water consumption should be an event. You should know how much water you're drinking. And so what we do in our protocol is when a person comes to see us, our approach is very simple. I can share it. A lot of persons, are into hiding. No, what we do is we share, because healing is so important that everybody needs to know. And so what we do is when a person comes to see us, we have 2 clinics. We have one in St. Thomas. We have one at 5 Church Street in Morant Bay. That's upstairs the Universal Church. We are also in Port Antonio. That's 5 Boundbrook Crescent in Port Antonio. That's right beside the Holiness Church. So in Morant Bay, we're right upstairs Universal Church. And we're also in St. Ann. I come to St. Ann once per month. And basically what I do is, you come into these clinics, what we do is we put you on a machine, and it's called a quantum analyzer, where we look at the cells of your body. We look at every cell emits a frequency. So it's a frequency machine that allows us to look at the frequency that your cells are emitting, and that allows us to assess you and to know what's happening with you. Once that assessment is done, what we also do is that we do what we call a hydration questionnaire. For those persons who are not close to us, we can do it remotely. So if there's anybody watching and would want to do a consultation, our consultation starts with a questionnaire to determine the extent of your dehydration. Once we understand how dehydrated you are, we will know how to begin the process of providing the body the tools for it to begin to heal itself. Because the foundation of healing is hydration and nutrition. What we are going to do is we're going to provide you with the raw material so that you can begin the hydration process. And so what we do basically is we're going to put together a protocol for you. We're going to put together a protocol for you. And the protocol is going to be based on your body weight. So we find out what your body weight is. And when we find out what your body weight is, we use that to determine how much hydration fluid you're going to be ingesting over a particular period of time. And that hydration fluid is going to be divided into 3 groups. It's going to be divided into water with minerals. It's going to be it's going to include herbal teas, and those herbal teas are going to be based on the findings of the assessment or the findings of the consultation. So, for example, if it is that you had from the consultation, poor circulation, if it is that you are diabetic, if it is that you're hypertensive, there's going to be a herbal tea formulation that is going to be geared towards that. And of course, if you have specific conditions, it's going to be geared towards that. So there's 3 hydration fluids. 1 is water with minerals, 2 is herbal teas, and 3 is going to be coconut water or some potassium-based liquid. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at your diet, and we're going to take out all of those acidic foods that you have in your diet, and we're going to replace them with alkaline foods, and then you're just going to watch your body begin to go to work and begin to heal itself. And so it's simple. And so basically for everybody, it's a different process. That's why I tell persons to get a journal and journal the process. And I tell persons, hey, if the body was given the task, and if every single person, even though we're all human beings, but because we're unique, there are unique things about us, and we all heal uniquely different. And so if it is that the body is made to heal itself, then it goes without saying that there's a lot that we can learn from the body. So instead of learning from the body and knowing how to adjust our strategy to healing, what most persons do is we impose on the body without learning from the body, without understanding the body. And so because of this approach to healing, where we impose on the body, a lot of persons don't know a lot about their bodies. A lot of persons outsource that responsibility to medical practitioners. And I said, I guess one of the reasons why people do that is because there are just more important things to life to focus your energy on than your health. I know, for example, that your business is far more important than your health. I know that, for example, your children are far more important than your health. I know that your relationship, when you think about it, in life, there are so many things that are far more important than your health. So because of this, a lot of persons outsource the responsibility of their health to other institutions and to other persons because their health is simply not important enough. And so, we're looking at the cell being a battery. And we talk about the hydration. If the hydration reduces, what happens is that the cell wall becomes calcified. If you take a leaf that is green, or if you take any part of a plant that is green, the reason why it's green, and if you were to squeeze it, you would realize that there is sap or there is succulent substance in it. The cells have water in it. The cells have fluid in it. But the minute you put that leaf, for example, in the sun, what you're going to find is that the leaf that was very pliable and the leaf that was very loose and the leaf that could be bent start to become rigid. The rigidness of that leaf is because water is leaving the cells of that plant. And so the plant, one of the first signs of dehydration, and the extent of dehydration is determined by the amount of moisture that is lost. And so over a period of time, say about 4 to 5 days, if that leaf is left in the right amount of heat, it becomes dehydrated to the point where it becomes stiff and brittle. Also, if you were to measure that leaf, and this is a cool experiment that teachers, you can think about it. If you were to look at that leaf, you would also realize that the leaf would have lost some amount of thickness. The leaves would become thicker, or the leaf would become smaller in size. And so dehydration causes a reduction in size. Dehydration causes brittleness or stiffness. And so when the cells become dehydrated, what happens is, because remember that the cells have potassium, magnesium, sodium, but the cells also have in them protein, but the cells also have calcium in them. And so what happens is the cell wall becomes calcified. Now, anybody knows that anywhere that is made of a lot of calcium is tough. So the skull, the brain, is protected by a calcified structure. That calcified structure is the skull, because the brain is very tender. So the brain is enclosed or encapsulated into a calcified capsule that protects it. And so that's what happens to the cells when they become dehydrated. Now, when the cells become dehydrated and the cells become reduced and the cells become smaller, that calcification is going to affect absorption. That calcification is going to affect absorption. So minerals are not going to be absorbed as easy as it should, which is why when there's calcification in the cells, when you drink water, because the water has no minerals in it, and because the cells are calcified, that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people become more dehydrated. One of the reasons why you become more dehydrated, because if hydration is the absorption and the absorption of minerals, then dehydration is the loss of minerals. So I'll give you an example. When you drink water, usually that water has no mineral in it. But when we lose water, that water definitely has minerals in it. If you cry and if you were to taste the tears, it's salty because of minerals. If you were to have a runny nose and you were to taste that mucus, it's salty. If you were to taste your blood, taste your mucus, taste your pee, taste your sweat, every single fluid that leaves the body leaves with minerals, which means that if you are not consuming fluid with minerals and you're losing fluid with minerals, you're being left with a mineral deficit. So dehydration is not just water loss, it is mineral loss, which is why sometimes you may find athletes who run or athletes who insert themselves or they overwork themselves. They sometimes collapse or they sometimes have muscle contraction or muscle spasms, because when they run or because of their high physical activities, they are losing a lot of minerals. A lot of you men who are construction workers are working in an environment where you're constantly sweating and you're constantly losing minerals, but while you're on the construction site, you are guzzling water. You're guzzling ice cold water with no minerals, and you're peeing even more. So the more water you guzzle and the more you pee, you're actually becoming more dehydrated. You're losing minerals. So hydration is cellular absorption and absorption of minerals. Dehydration is a cellular loss of minerals. And so when I talk about dehydration, it is within that context that I want you to understand hydration. It's very important for you to understand this. In subsequent presentation, I'm going to be talking about water in a way that you've never heard water being talked about before. Because water is in abundance, because water in most places are found in abundance, it is taken for granted. Water is not respected the way it ought to be respected, because it is in abundance, even though it is necessary to life. But because of how abundant it is not respected or treated with respect or seen as the first medicine. Water is the first medicine. As I said, like myself, I used to approach a lot of people who come to me with hypertension and diabetes. A lot of people, by the way, who are listening, they want to hear about herbs. We're going to be talking about herbs. We can't talk about just hydration. We have to talk about nutrition, but the foundation of healing is hydration and then nutrition. So believe me, we're going to be talking about herbs, and we're going to be talking about herbs in a way that you have never heard it before. I guarantee you. We're going to be talking about herbs and how our ancestors and how you use herbs and how you combine herbs to efficiently answer the body's needs and how you know what herbs to combine. We're going to be talking about all of that in the Wellness Podcast and subsequent series. That is the reason why I've cut this time out, I've earmarked this time because I really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of what it means to heal. And I want to do it and say it in such a way where persons who are practicing healing, my goal is to see persons who are in the craft of healing, as my good friend Priest Caleb would say. Priest Caleb says, I don't practice. It's not a practice. Practice suggests that there's uncertainty, or practice suggests that you don't know what you're doing. So let me rephrase that. Priest Caleb says, if you are in the art and the craft of healing, if you're in the art and the craft of healing, I want you to listen to what I'm saying to you. A lot of reasons why you're not getting the results that you are getting, it's not because of the quality of your medicine, it's not because of the quality of the herbs, it is the quality of the cells of the persons taking your medicines. A lot of those persons are dehydrated, and you cannot heal a dehydrated cell. Right? You can't heal a dehydrated cell. You have to resolve dehydration first. The body has to be hydrated first. Minerals have to be in the cells. Even the medical doctors know that. That's why they start you out on a drip. You cannot begin to heal somebody whose cells are dehydrated. Right? So I want you to understand that a lot of persons out there, we have been fixated, we have been so concerned with herbs, and believe me, herbs are phenomenal, herbs are beautiful, herbs are miraculous. I said to persons, this is what I said to persons, the creator who made us, and he says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. So this is to let you know, I'm not underestimating herbs. The creator who made us, the scripture says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. When this fearfully and wonderfully made creation becomes defective, he says that he made something to resolve it. And he says, and he gave them herbs for healing. And so what happens is that healing, this fearfully and wonderfully made creation, the thing that he made to resolve restoring this is herbs. So if the creator says that he made herbs for the healing of the nation, then that is just to tell you how valuable herbs are. So I'm in no way trying to underestimate the value of herbs. Herbs are very important. But what I am saying is that the foundation of healing is not herbs. The foundation of healing is hydration. And then nutrition. And then that nutrition is where herb comes in. So a lot of persons who come to us have been misinformed. Our job is to inform them. A lot of persons are misinformed, and because they are misinformed, what they want to know is what's the next wonder herb, what herb is good for that, what herb is good for this. No. People are talking about what can I get to help with my A1C? What can I to get with my insulin? People are fixated and focused on the wrong things. If you spend as much time focusing on your hydration as you do on your A1C, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in. If you spend as much time focusing on your hydration than you do on your insulin, you wouldn't be in that predicament. If you spend as much time focusing on your hydration than you do on the next wonder supplement, you wouldn't be in that position. So the foundation of healing is hydration, and that's the message that I want to get out there. And so minerals are not just nutrients. Minerals are firstly electrical agents. So sodium pulls water and charge into the cells. That's the job of sodium. Potassium maintains internal electrical balance. Magnesium stabilizes what we call ATP and nerve signals, and calcium regulates signals and contraction. And so before we look at the minerals as nutrients, before we look at them as nutrients, we have to first understand that they are charge carriers. They carry charge into the cells so that the cells can do what they're supposed to do. And so that is the reason why if there is no minerals in your water, then your voltage is going to drop. And once your voltage drops, your healing stops. And once your healing stops, you begin to descend into what we call the disease range. Minerals are not just nutrients, they are electrical agents. They are agents of electricity. And so without minerals, water cannot hydrate the cells. I spoke about what we call distilled water, which is water created by causing the water to rise in the form of steam and then condensing and collecting it. That is what is called water without solids in it. What we call what's the word? What we call water without minerals. I just got distracted, guys, because of something in the room. Right? So water cannot hydrate the cells, and so voltage cannot be maintained if there's distilled water. That's the word. And so a lot of the water that we drink, that we get from these bottled water, a lot of these water are dead. They have a positive electrical charge, which we're going to get into, but a lot of them are void of minerals. And so electricity cannot flow. Once there's no minerals, electricity cannot flow. No minerals, no charge. No charge, no healing. And so that is one reason why people fall into what I call the disease range. A lot of people are in the disease range. A lot of people who are watching now are in the disease range. And being in the disease range, they may be at the mild stage of the disease range. And so persons say, I'm okay. There are persons who are at the moderate of disease. They're at the mild stage. And you know, I'm always multitasking, and so sometimes I'm a little distracting. Like right now, I'm just sending a message to somebody. I can't believe that in the middle of this recording. I try to do this, do my live early when I'm not distracted, because you know it becomes very difficult for me to focus because of the many persons who try to reach out to me. All right, so water is not just a fluid, right? It is a conductor of electricity inside the body. And so again, a lot of people, as I said, a lot of people see water as just a fluid, you know, and because it's in abundance, a lot of people take it for granted. A lot of people don't rightfully discern water for what it's meant to be inside the cells. Water organizes into structural, what I call structural layers. These layers conduct electrical charge that allow minerals to move. They support enzymic reactions. And so water plays a very important role. If you were to freeze water and look at water at a microscope, you'd see that water is like it's a crystal, it's like a liquid crystal. And so inside the cells, that H3O2 or that gel water is like a liquid crystal, and crystals are reservoir for storing information. And so that water has intelligence that that has inside. And so dehydration does not mean less water in the body. It means less electrical activity water inside the cell. And so there's once there's not enough electrical activity in the cells, then there's going to be a problem. It's very important. And so you know, we've got to, am I again, you know, just paying attention to another message that came in. Sorry to do this, guys, but this is what my day is like. All right, so as I said, it's very important for us to understand, and that is why I recommend going to nature's natural source. Nature's natural source is spring water, because you know when the water comes out of the earth, it is being filtered through minerals, right? And so it is naturally structured, it is naturally mineralized, and so what you're getting is not just water that is alive, water that is clean, but water that is alive. The emphasis now on modern science is water that is clean, not water that is alive. The Western system doesn't care on how alive that water is. Their focus is on how clean it is. And that is the reason why in all of these videos, in the description of there is there is in the description of this video, there's a link to a number of wells across the US, if you're living in the US, where you can go and get spring water. But for those persons who don't have access to spring, there's a machine that I want to tell you about. It's called the Vesta H2 water ionizer. It's a water ionizer, and it's something that I stand behind, because this is a machine that can give you water with as much as a pH of 11. It is a machine that is versatile, because for as little as, depending on your credit, anywhere from $100 to $30, you can have this machine. A lot of persons ask me about it, and I talk about it even for persons who need to increase their hydration, who want to get the best quality water in their body. I highly recommend this machine, and I want you to go to our website and check it out. There's a link called Water. Just go and check it out.
Contains hormones, pesticides, and heavy metals that no basic filter can remove. But this Japanese technology can. The Vesta H2 eliminates all 249 tested contaminants, including the toughest ones like arsenic and chromium-6 that other filters leave behind. Independent EPA certified labs verified every single result. Beyond filtration, you get hydrogen-infused water that research shows neutralizes harmful free radicals and supports cellular hydration. The alkaline, mineral-rich water tastes amazing and helps balance your body's pH naturally. With a 90-day performance guarantee, there's zero risk. Protect your family's health with the Vesta H2 Water Ionizer today.
All right, guys, so please go over to our website and check it out, or call the number that is on the screen if you want more information about our water ionizer. I highly recommend it. All right, so we're talking now about the cell as a battery, and right now we are looking at water as a conductor. Now, what I said is that without conductive water, minerals can't move, voltage drops, cellular communication breaks down, because dry cells are electrically silent cells. When you have dry cells, they are electrically silent, because there's no communication taking place. And so another very important component in hydration, of course, and very important to the cells, is oxygen, because oxygen is the voltage stabilizer. Oxygen is not just for breathing, it is a voltage stabilizer. Oxygen accepts electron during energy production. So when energy production is taking place, oxygen plays a very important role of accepting electron. It prevents what we call electrical overload. It supports mitochondrial efficiency. So for the mitochondria to function at its best, there has to be oxygen. The mitochondria is fueled by oxygen. And when we reach to where we have cancer cells, we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about the discovery that led to a Nobel Peace Prize being given to the individual who made phenomenal discovery that has helped so much in understanding about normal cells and cancer cells, and why this knowledge is so important. When we begin to understand the major difference between cancer cells and healthy cells, I'm telling you, it's going to blow you away, because you're going to see how easily these issues can be resolved. Oxygen also keeps voltage steady instead of chaotic. So there has to be a steady flow of what we call voltage throughout the body. Oxygen helps in keeping it steady. Low oxygen environment causes electron buildup, similar to what I spoke about, the buildup of corrosion. Yeah, when there is low electrical voltage, it causes electron buildup. You don't want that. It causes acidic conditions. It causes voltage instability. It causes increased inflammation. And so everybody knows, or at least everybody should know, that disease cannot thrive in an oxygen-rich environment. And so once there's not enough oxygen in the cells, then disease begins to thrive. What we call it, plaque begins to build up. All of those unsavory circumstances begin to build up. And so healing can't take place. And as I said, what a lot of people do without understanding this. They're applying herbs, they're applying supplement, they're applying everything that they need to, not understanding that you're giving the body the best raw material, but the body is just not in a state to utilize that material. Why? Because the body is in a disease stage. The body is in a disease phase. And so what we want to do, as I keep on saying, this is what Dr. Sebi understood. This is the reason why Dr. Sebi was not impressed, he was not interested with what disease name you came to him. Wasn't. The reason is because all that was important to him was understanding that you're in a disease range. He's just focused on getting you out of that range. He knows that in order to get you out of that range, he has to get rid of all the acidity, and he has to get you on an alkaline diet so that the body can begin to heal itself. And so it's not our task, it's not our responsibility to heal the body. It is the body's responsibility. All we have to do is to provide the body with the raw material for the body to heal itself, and just watch. It's an involuntary, natural process, and it doesn't need our involvement. We don't have to take on the task and the responsibility, because why? The body is dynamic, right? The body is dynamic. The body goes through changes in real time. And so because the body is constantly adjusting, because the body is constantly changing, then we would know when to do what. The body knows. All the body needs is the right ingredient for it to do so. And so if the body doesn't have enough oxygen, there's an acidic condition, because there's a buildup of acidic. The voltage is unstable, and of course there's increased inflammation. As I was saying, that if you take that leaf and dehydrate that leaf becomes brittle. And so if you try to bend it, you're going to break it. And that's what happened to a lot of people right now who are feeling joint pain. Because as we get older, we get more dehydrated. As we become more dehydrated, there are certain cells, like the cells in the bones, that become dehydrated. That affects now range of motion. Every move you make, you're feeling pain. Trust me, if you begin to hydrate within a very short period of time, you're going to be shocked at the improved health that you are going to begin to experience. There's no miracle about it. There's no wonder about it. I call it the formula for health, which is H3O2 plus N, which is minerals, plus A, which is absorption, equals hydration. Once you have that, then the body is just going to be in a much more comfortable state. So this is why poor circulation, shallow breathing, and thick blood are all reduced healing. Oxygen keeps the electrical system from short circuiting. And so what happens when the cellular battery fails? All right? So when any component is missing, whether it be membrane damage, mineral depletion, dehydration, or oxygen deficiency, the result is voltage collapse, impaired nutrient uptake, waste accumulation, and degeneration. So disease is not random. It's a battery failure over a period of time. A lot of persons have their good health, and they wait on their health decline. And that's why I said to persons, we have a clinic in Morant Bay in Portland and Evening St. Anne. In our Morant Bay office and in our St. Thomas office, we offer a free clinic every single month. If you call our office, you can find out when is going to be the next free clinic. Why? Because we want persons to know the state of their health. Your health is too important for you to wait until you get sick before you start looking after yourself. Let me say that again. Your health is too important for you to wait until you get sick. In all of my years of practice, I can count it on one hand. The amount of persons who came not because they were sick, but because they want to find out the state of their health. Most persons don't want to know the state of their health. Most persons don't think it's that important. For most persons, they have much more pressing, much more urgent, much more important things to look at than their health. The next party, the next big event, the next show that's coming up, the next car that's coming out, the next phone that's coming out, the latest technological advance. Most people have more important thing to pay attention to than their health. And it's shocking when most persons get sick, how they not only begin to take note of their health, but how quickly they want their health to be restored. They sat with their diseased body. They sat in a diseased stage for months, some for years. They watched it decline and decline and decline. And for a lot of men, most of your men, you watch it decline and decline and decline and decline, and you only begin to take your health serious when you start to have erectile issues, when you can't get it up. You start to take your health serious when you start to feel excruciating pain. For most persons, their job is more important, promotion is more important. The next buck is more important than their health. But disease is a process, and there are stages in diseases. And so what we do is that we offer the free clinic because we're saying to persons, don't wait until your health collapses. Don't wait until your health completely declines. You watch that tummy growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. You watch that feet swelling and swelling and swelling until you can't walk. Then you say that, Dr. Ben, I need to come and check you. Did you know that most persons wouldn't spend $1 on themselves? Most persons would not spend $1 on themselves. Most persons will not make any adjustment to their lifestyle to prevent themselves from being sick. Most people rather to correct than to prevent. And that is the reason why I do these presentations. To a lot of persons, it's boring. To a lot of persons, it's a lot of just talking. Because most persons want to just get the next word. Dr. Ben, what do I need? What's the sense in telling you what you need when your body is not in a state to use it? What's the sense in telling you the best herbs to use for a particular condition and your body is not in a state to use that best raw material? That is the reason why I'm doing this presentation, because I want persons to understand that herbs don't heal you. Then somebody say, oh my goodness, Dr. Ben, what did you just say? I said, herbs don't heal you. Nope. There's no herb that heals you. What do you mean? The body heals itself. Herbs are just raw materials that the body uses to heal itself. And so what you have to do is to focus on the body's ability to heal, the body's ability to use what you give to it. That is why I'm doing this presentation. I'm talking about the body's state. And when the body is dehydrated, a dehydrated body cannot heal. You cannot try to heal a dehydrated body, which is even the medical industry knows this, which is why when you come in, the first thing they do is they start out with hydration. They know that if they are going to attempt to heal you, it's going to be a futile. They have to first hydrate you. So I want to talk to those herbalists who are biochemical focused, who are focused on herbs. I want to explain to you why a lot of times you're not getting the results. A lot of times you're too focused on the herb. You're too focused on the raw material, and you're not focusing enough on the component, the body that is going to use that raw material. And so it's very important for you to understand it. It's very important for you to teach that. And so healing does not begin with pills. What you want to do is you want to recharge the cells. Healing does not begin with supplements alone. Healing does not begin with symptoms suppression for those who are on prescription products. Does not begin with symptom suppression. I know that that's where you are now. I know that you've allowed your health to decline so much so that that may be where you are now. But symptom suppression is not healing. In order to begin healing, you have got to begin with recharging the cells. You've got to begin with recharging the cells. Healing begins with restoring the battery wall, which is the cell membrane, replacing the charge carriers, which are the minerals, rehydrating the conductor, which is the water, and stabilizing the voltage, which is the oxygen. Let me say it again. Healing begins with restoring the battery wall, which is the cell membrane, replacing the charge carriers, which are the minerals, rehydrating the conductor, which is the water, and stabilizing the voltage, which is the oxygen. When the battery is restored, healing becomes automatic. The cell resumes its original function, its original design, its original responsibility, which is healing. And so I want to say you are not just flesh and chemistry. You are not just a biochemical being. You are an electric life. You are a bioelectrical being. Recharge the cells, and the body remembers how to heal. And so some of you persons have been sick for so long. I don't care how long you have been sick. I don't care how long you have been in that particular condition. Your body remembers how to heal. That information is trapped and locked in your DNA. All you need to do now is to recharge your cells, and the body will go about what it does best, which is healing. Guys, I really, each time I come on each week to teach and to talk to you, something else is suffering. But this is very important to me because I understand that there's a lot of misconception out there. My goal is not to sell anything. My goal is not to, as I said, I've made a promise to the Most High not to prostitute this knowledge. I've been given a huge responsibility, and I take this responsibility very serious. My goal is not to come out here and prostitute the knowledge. My goal is not to come out here just to make money. My goal is to come out here and to help you, my people who are sick, my people who are diseased. A lot of persons, by saying this, I don't want persons to see me as the source of their healing. I believe my biggest asset to you is not for me to see you. My biggest asset for you is to exploit me, but not abuse me. My biggest asset to you is for you to exploit me. It is to try to get as much out of me as you can without abusing me. And what I make a distinction between exploiting and abusing. Exploiting is when something is done where it's mutually beneficial. So as a healer, it's not my responsibility to try to get from you. It's my focus and responsibility to give to you. It is your responsibility to see the value of what I'm giving and to give back to me. So abuse is when it is a one-way street, when you are only coming to get from me. And some people, when see me say, "Oh, Dr. Ben, you share so much, you give away so much free information." Why? Because my focus is on giving. And I believe, myself and my wife, you try to get this out of us. But I know when somebody is exploiting me, and I know when somebody is abusing me. That's what I want to say. So I make that distinction. I know when somebody is coming only to get, and I know when somebody sees value and they're coming to get, but they're also looking to give. They're looking to give because this is a huge responsibility that has been given to me. And sometimes I do get discouraged because there's so much that I want to do. My joy comes out of healing and helping people being healed. I'm so satisfied when I see people who are sick just get better and get fired up and just want to change it. But sometimes there are many people who just see me as a person who they need to get or who they need to delegate their healing to. I'm not the best person for you to delegate your responsibility of healing because number one, because of my responsibility, I'm very busy. So I may not be the best person to get on a call, or I may not be the best person to return a call, or I may not be the best person to settle down and be patient to walk you through, but I'm the best person to ask a question. I'm the best person to do something that will improve you. You ask me to do something that's going to benefit you alone versus something that's going to benefit you so that you can be a benefit to somebody else. My approach is going to be very different because I look for opportunities primarily, not just to help one person, but I look for opportunities that have a multiplying effect. So if it even involves helping somebody that was willing to learn, right now, I've reduced making formulations and giving people formulation. My approach now is to design formulation that I give to you and teach you how to put the formulation together. Why? Because when I help you to make your own medicine, when somebody has the same problem, you're not going to come to me. You're going to be in a position to help that person. My goal is to help persons to be in a position to help themselves. Because as I said, the next crisis is going to be a food and medicine crisis. And I know I'm winding down now, but right now, as I'm speaking to you, we are not in a position, for those of you who are in the diaspora, for those of you that are living in the US, a lot of you, we're not in a position to send herbs to heal you anymore. We're not in a position. A lot of persons who listen to Dr. Ben and listen to Priest Kalish and listen to so many great healers from in the Caribbean who think that they can outsource their healing to wise and to skillful and to proficient and to well-able healers. Guys, that's changing. That is changing. A lot of we want to send you herbs and we can't send you anymore. So the crisis has started. So right now what I do is I work with a lot of herbs that can be found locally, which means I have to go back into my thinking cap. Which means that's the reason why I don't promote herbs. I promote the principles of herbal knowledge. So that if you were hooked on the benefits of Contribo, and you can't get Contribo anymore, you would know what is the equivalent in principle in your location that you can use to get the job done. And so I'm saying to persons, the next crisis is going to be a food and medicine crisis. Your health is your responsibility. We're living in an age when you just can't afford to outsource the responsibility of your health to anybody else. You've got to take it in your own hands. I want to come to the US, but when I come, I want to come to share my knowledge. I want to help persons, but I want to help persons in a way that have a multiplying effect. That is the reason why I put out the books, education. The greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication, even when it's natural. Guys, I could stay here and pour out my heart, but I have some other things to get done. I have some medicines to make, and I have some other things to attend to. If you want to connect with me, the best thing to do is to go to our website. And when you go to our website, there is a link there. There is a link there that you can go. Let me see if I can show you. And then I'm going to close off this session. No, that's not it. Okay. Coming. So let me show you. I won't be able to do that. Okay, yeah, I think so. So you can go to our website. When you go to our website, then scroll down and go to online consultation right here. Click on online consultation. And when you click on online consultation, choose the one that says quantum cellular voltage assessment. You're going to click on that. And when you click on that, you can just book a session. Now, when you book that session, what happens is that when you book that session, what happens is that you're going to go through a questionnaire, and that questionnaire is going to help us to determine not only the fact that you are dehydrated, but the extent of your dehydration. And we're going to begin to work with you from there to show you how you can be in a position to restore the environment to what it should be for the body to begin to heal itself. Guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I hope to see you next week. Please give me some feedback. Let me know how this new podcast is impacting you. Let me know if you're learning anything, and let me know what you want me to do differently. We have another podcast that's coming up. It's going to be called ICM Herbal Guild podcast. And it's going to be a podcast where we have a lineup of interesting persons. We're going to talk more about the Herbal Guild. What is the Herbal Guild? It's the first time you're hearing about it. You're going to hear more about that. And more importantly, you're going to hear how you can be a part of it. Until next time, this is Dr. Ben saying, your health is your responsibility, and the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. Bye-bye.